Welcome to Private Stories, where people discover who they really are. The stroller was bright yellow. That was the first detail that burned into my memory. Bright yellow fabric covered in tiny smiling suns like something pulled straight from a cheerful parenting catalog. Inside it a baby slept peacefully, mouth slightly open. Tiny fists curled beside his cheeks, as if the entire world had decided to leave him alone. And apparently it had. At least until she saw me. Scarlett did not notice me at first. She stood at a smoothie counter near the center of the mall, leaning casually on one hip while studying the menu board. Her voice floated through the air. "Extra chia, please." The words hit me like a strange echo from another life. 2 years earlier, that same woman once yelled at me for 20 minutes because I bought the wrong almond milk. I stood several steps away behind a row of overpriced massage chairs, gripping a box with a microwave inside. My fingers tightened around the cardboard. I should have walked away. Any normal person would have. But I stayed frozen there, staring like a pathetic animal caught in headlights. And those headlights looked exactly like the eyes of my ex-wife. Then it happened. She turned. At first casually. Her head tilted slightly as if something in the room shifted. Then her gaze landed on me, and everything changed. Her lips stopped moving mid-sentence. The color drained from her face so quickly it looked unnatural. For a moment I honestly thought she might faint. She looked like someone who had just seen a ghost. The strange part, I felt like one. Rain had soaked through my hoodie. I had not shaved in nearly a week. My left shoelace dragged loose against the floor. Meanwhile, Scarlett looked like she had stepped out of a lifestyle magazine. Soft waves of auburn hair fell over her shoulders. A cream-colored, oversized cardigan wrapped around her frame. Her smile from a moment earlier slowly collapsed into panic. I had not seen her in 813 days. Yes, I counted. And now she stood there holding the child she built a new life around. I could not hear the words she said next. Maybe my name. Maybe oh my God. Maybe nothing at all. My ears rang like someone had struck a bell inside my skull. But I knew exactly what she was thinking. What is he doing here? The funny part. I was asking myself the same question. Why was I there? That mall used to be our rainy Sunday escape. Back when our life still made sense. The frozen yogurt stand still stood near the escalators. The exact place where she once kissed me and whispered a promise. We will never fall apart. She broke that promise on an ordinary Thursday afternoon. No argument. No warning. No dramatic goodbye. She simply disappeared. Vanished like someone cutting a scene out of a movie. The house we shared stayed behind. 2 toothbrushes still resting in the same cup. Her wedding ring sitting alone on the coffee table. And one voicemail. A message that began with, "Please do not be mad," and ended with, "I am not coming back." Yet there she was. Alive. Blooming. Holding someone else's child. I did not move toward her. Not yet. I watched her pick up the smoothie. Watched her bounce the stroller slightly with practiced ease. Watched her eyes dart around the mall like she hoped I might vanish if she blinked hard enough. But I did not vanish. Instead, I stepped forward. The moment she noticed the movement, her body went stiff. Like I had just pulled a weapon. The stroller wheels squeaked softly as she pushed it back an inch. The baby shifted. My throat felt dry. My voice cracked when I finally spoke. No clever line. No sarcasm. Just one quiet question. "Is that him?" Her eyes shimmered. She did not answer. She did not need to. I already knew. But she still refused to look at me. Instead, she stared intensely at a display of scented candles beside the smoothie stand. As if lavender and vanilla suddenly became the most fascinating things in the world. The baby made a soft gurgling noise. Completely happy. Completely unaware. 2 years of silence stood between us. And my question had just sliced right through it. I stepped closer again. Not to threaten her. I only wanted her to actually see me. Not like some mistake. Not like some memory she had outgrown. Her fingers fidgeted nervously around the plastic smoothie cup. She glanced down at the baby. as if the child might magically distract me. But he did not. My chest felt tight, like I had swallowed a handful of gravel. So I asked again, this time slower, "Is that Victor's kid?" I gestured slightly toward the stroller. I could not even bring myself to say his name fully. Victor. Even thinking it left a bitter taste in my mouth. Scarlett barely moved. Just the faintest nod. Careful. Almost frightened. A strange sound escaped my throat. Not really a laugh. More like something inside me cracked open and leaked out. A couple walking past turned their heads. Scarlett shrank deeper into her cardigan like she wished the floor would swallow her whole. Too loud now, I said. My voice bounced off the polished tile floors of the food court. So you really did it. You built a whole family with him. I looked down at the baby again. Those eyes. Huge blue eyes. Bright and curious. Strangely familiar. Guess I was just the rehearsal. Please do not do this, she said finally. Her voice sounded thin. Fragile. Like an apology that had expired long ago. But she still refused to say my name. Not Logan. Not even you. Just, please do not. Like I was a threat. Or worse. An echo from a life she buried. Inside my chest something burned. I wanted to scream. Wanted to smash something pointless like a food tray or a phone charger. Instead I just stared at her. And asked the only question that ever mattered. Why did you leave like that? No goodbye. No warning. Not even the decency to say it to my face. Her mouth opened slightly, but nothing came out. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times. In traffic. In the shower. Lying awake at night on a cheap air mattress after she left. In those fantasies I always had perfect lines. Sharp, clever things that would destroy her. But none of those speeches survived the silence now hanging between us. My lungs suddenly realized I had not breathed for nearly 20 seconds. Then she whispered something so quiet I almost missed it. I did not think you would let me go. I did not think you would let me go. Her voice was barely louder than a breath. For a moment I just stared at her. Let you go. The words echoed inside my head like a bad joke. You were my wife, I said quietly. And the moment that word left my mouth she flinched. Wife. It hit her harder than I expected. Her eyes dropped to the stroller again. Her hand instinctively began rocking it back and forth. The baby shifted and made a small restless sound. Not crying. Just squirming like babies do when the air around them changes. I watched her carefully. You know what the worst part is, I continued. My voice low but steady. I would have done anything for you. I stayed when you fell apart. When you spent weeks barely getting out of bed. I cleaned your mom's entire garage because you were too embarrassed to ask anyone else. I rehearsed your job interview questions with you every night until 2 in the morning. Even when you were already texting him. Her head snapped up at that. That is not fair, she said quickly. Is it not? I remember the night you came home smelling like someone else's cologne. I asked if it was new shampoo. You told me it was lavender. Then you rolled your eyes like I was crazy. Her lips pressed together. I did not want to hurt you, she said. You still did. The words hung there between us. Sharp. Unavoidable. For a moment she looked like she might cry. But she did not. Scarlett had always been good at holding herself together in public. Me. I was the guy who once cried in a pharmacy parking lot because they ran out of the orange cough drops she liked. I was the guy who left 17 voicemails begging her to come home, while she was already living with Victor. And now here I stood, holding a microwave I never even wanted, talking to the woman who used to whisper forever in her sleep, while her baby happily chewed on a plastic giraffe toy. Then she said something that somehow hurt more than anything else. You look different. That was it. No apology. No regret. Just different. Like I was a haircut. Or a piece of furniture she rearranged. For a second I honestly thought I might disappear. So instead I did something simpler. I turned. And walked away. No dramatic speech. No final insult. Just turned and left. The microwave box heavy in my arms. My shoulders slightly hunched. I passed the candle stand, past the pretzel counter, past the frozen yogurt shop where she used to order double mochi. Then the automatic doors opened with a soft mechanical sigh. Outside, the afternoon sky was gray. Rain fell in thin cold threads. And when the glass doors slid shut behind me, something strange hit me. For the first time since she left, she was the one watching me walk away. I thought that would be the end. A quiet ending. The kind where the curtain falls after an awkward performance. But life rarely follows the script we expect. Because seconds later, I heard footsteps behind me splashing through shallow puddles. Logan, wait. The sound of my name stopped me cold. 2 years. That was the first time she said it in 2 years. I stood beneath the mall awning, gripping the microwave box tighter, my knuckles turning pale. I did not turn around immediately. I just stared out at the parking lot, at the endless gray sky above it. Steam curled faintly from the wet asphalt. Then she reached me, breathing hard, one hand holding her cardigan closed. Raindrops clung to her hair. The stroller was not with her. Maybe she left it inside with one of the kiosk workers. Maybe she simply forgot it in the moment. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Her breathing filled the silence. You did not look okay, she finally said softly. Like that somehow made her the good person in this story. Like following me into the rain erased 2 years of silence. I just wanted to check on you. I turned slowly. Check on me. After erasing me from your life like I was a typo. That is not what I did. You ghosted me, Scarlett. I left a letter. You left a document with bullet points. She flinched again. This time I almost felt bad. Almost. Her mascara had begun to smudge slightly beneath one eye. Rain had softened the careful perfection she usually carried. For the first time that day she looked human. Not polished. Not composed. Just someone caught remembering something she tried very hard to forget. Then suddenly a thought hit me. Maybe she was not here for me. Maybe she was here for her guilt. I could not face you, she said quietly. The wind nearly stole the words. You would have talked me out of it. That one landed harder than everything else. You are damn right I would have. My voice cracked. Because I believed in us. Because I thought you were just confused. Not secretly building another life with a guy who drinks coffee out of mason jars. To my surprise, she laughed. A tiny, real laugh. It made my stomach twist. You still do that, she said. Do what? Make jokes when you are falling apart. Just like that. I hated her again. Not with dramatic movie hatred. Something quieter. Something colder. Like resenting someone for knowing you too well. After they stopped deserving that knowledge. The wind pushed rain against my hoodie. Soaked through the fabric. Why did you really follow me out here, I asked. You checking to make sure I will not step into traffic? Or just curious if I still wear sad shoes? She did not answer immediately. For a moment I thought she might finally leave. But then she spoke. Last month I had a dream. Her voice was soft. You were standing at the end of a wooden dock. You did not look at me. You just walked straight into the lake. And disappeared. When I woke up I could not breathe. For several seconds I had no response. Rain slid down my face. Maybe just rain. Maybe not. Why do you care now, I asked finally. Because you mattered. You still matter. Just not in the way you want. Those words hit harder than any slap could. Harder than the letter. Harder than 2 years of silence. I looked straight at her. Well, Scarlett, I said quietly. You do not get to decide how much I matter anymore. Then I walked away again. This time she did not follow. I could feel it. The final shift in the air. The quiet resignation. Somewhere behind me she remained standing beneath that leaking awning. But I never turned to check. I reached my car. Placed the microwave box in the passenger seat. Sat behind the steering wheel. My hands shaking slightly. In the rearview mirror I could still see her. Standing there. Small against the gray sky. Watching me drive away. I truly believed that was the final scene. The end of a long, miserable chapter. But 3 days later, a letter arrived. and 5 words written at the top of it would change everything. You do not know the half. You do not know the half. Those were the 5 words written across the top of the page. I stared at them for a long time, sitting on the edge of my unmade bed, the letter trembling slightly between my fingers. There was no return address, no envelope, just a folded sheet stuffed inside a cheap greeting card sleeve with cartoon raccoons printed on the front. The handwriting was unmistakable, sharp, slightly slanted. Scarlet's. The microwave still sat unopened in the corner of my apartment. I had not touched it since the mall. Honestly, I had barely touched food either. Dry cereal and black coffee had been enough to keep my body functioning. But now my stomach twisted, because something about those 5 words felt dangerous. I unfolded the page. The ink looked rushed, like the pen had struggled to keep up with her thoughts. The first sentence hit immediately. Victor was never supposed to be permanent. I frowned. My mind tripped over the sentence trying to understand it. Not permanent. What was that supposed to mean? A fling. A placeholder. The father of her child was temporary. I continued reading. She wrote that she never planned to get pregnant. That Victor had pushed for the baby once it happened. She described how charming he used to be. How energetic. How funny. But once the baby arrived, something changed. The charm faded. The late-night laughter disappeared. Real life settled in. He started drinking more. He stopped listening. One time he vanished for 2 days and came home with a black eye and no explanation. I paused there. Something inside me felt uneasy. But the next lines made my hands begin to shake. I have never told anyone this. But when I left you, I was already 3 months pregnant, and I was not sure the baby was his. The paper crackled as my grip tightened. I set the letter down on the floor, my heart pounding so hard it felt painful. 3 months. 3. I stood up abruptly and started pacing the room. Back and forth. Back and forth. My apartment suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too heavy. 3 months pregnant when she left. That meant, no, that could not be. I forced myself to pick the letter up again. Victor did not ask questions when I told him. He wanted the idea of a child more than the truth. He said if we did not know for sure we would just say it was his. And I was too ashamed to stop him. I wanted to bury it. I convinced myself it was his. Maybe it is. But I do not know. And now I cannot stop wondering. The letter slipped from my fingers. I sank onto the floor, my back against the refrigerator, my mind buzzing with fragments of thought. None of them helpful. Images flashed through my head. The baby in the yellow stroller. Those big blue eyes. Eyes I had seen before. In mirrors. When I still bothered to look at myself. Suddenly the meeting at the mall felt completely different. This was no longer just about betrayal. Or divorce, or her running away with another man. Now it was about a child who might be mine. My hands shook as I grabbed the letter again. The rest of it was messy, scattered apologies, guilt, confessions. One line about how sometimes she wondered what would have happened if she told me the truth earlier. And at the bottom, her closing sentence. I am not asking for anything. I just thought you deserved to know. Deserved to know. I laughed out loud at that. A bitter hollow sound. I deserved far more than a confession stuffed inside a dollar store raccoon card. But still, my mind would not stop returning to the same thought. That baby. Those eyes. What if I walked right past my own son? What if Scarlett did not just leave me? What if she took my child with her? I did not sleep that night. Not even a minute. I sat on the edge of my bed still wearing the same clothes from the mall, reading the letter again and again, until the words started losing their shape. He might be yours. That sentence played inside my head like a broken record. Because if it was true, then for the past 2 years, my child had been sleeping in another man's house, calling someone else dad. By sunrise, I was pacing my apartment hallway like a lunatic. Finally, I opened my old laptop. The one still covered in stickers Scarlett once bought when she wanted to start a lifestyle blog. Crumbs sat trapped between the keys. I opened a search tab. Paternity test without mother consent. That search dragged me into a dark rabbit hole. Forums. Legal discussions. Stories from men who sounded disturbingly like me. Ex-husbands. Ghost fathers. Maybe fathers. Most of them said the same thing. Without legal rights. Do not expect cooperation. And do not expect honesty. But I was not looking for cooperation. I was looking for the truth. I had not spoken to Scarlett since the letter arrived. Part of me wanted to scream at her. Part of me wanted to cry. But another part needed answers. So I opened my phone. Scrolled through old contacts. Until I found a number I once knew better than my own. Her number. My thumb hovered above it. I did not want to hear her voice. I was not sure mine would survive the conversation. So instead I typed a message. We need to talk face to face. Please do not bring the child. I stared at the screen. The typing bubble appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Then nothing. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. I tossed the phone onto the couch and buried my face in my hands. Exactly 22 minutes later. It rang. Her voice sounded quiet, flat, like she was speaking in a room where someone else might be sleeping. I will meet you, she said. Tomorrow. But only for 10 minutes. This does not change anything. But she was wrong. It already had. The next afternoon we met at a park bench. Just outside the neighborhood where we used to live. Neutral territory. Scarlett wore sunglasses even though the sky was cloudy. Her hair was tied loosely. There was a small stain on the sleeve of her sweater. For the first time in years she did not look perfect. Strangely, that made her look more real. I did not waste time. I want a paternity test, I said. She did not react immediately. Instead she pulled at a loose thread on her sleeve. Then sighed. I knew you would say that, so you will do it. She looked at me finally. What exactly do you want me to do, Logan? Take him to a lab and tell Victor. Surprised the kid might not be yours. Victor does not matter, I replied. I do. That is not fair. None of this is fair. I spent 2 years grieving a woman who vanished. Now you are telling me I might have missed my own child's first steps. First words. Stop, she said quietly. Why? Because it hurts. Good. Silence followed. A long one. Then slowly, she reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a photograph. A small Polaroid. She handed it to me. The boy sat in a sandbox, holding a plastic dinosaur. His hair messy, his cheeks round, his eyes bright, blue. Tell me those are not yours, she whispered. Her voice cracked for the first time. I stared at the photo, and something inside me broke. Not anger, not grief. Something far more terrifying. Hope. Do the test, I said. Then I stood up and walked away, because if I stayed another second, I was afraid I might completely fall apart. The waiting nearly destroyed me. 12 days. 12 painfully slow days stretched like an entire year. I could not focus on anything. Work felt meaningless. Food tasted like cardboard. Sleep refused to come. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the boy from the photograph. His round cheeks. His messy hair. Those blue eyes. My eyes. Questions kept attacking my mind. Did he like dinosaurs because I did when I was his age? Did he sleep curled on his side the way I always had? Did loud noises scare him? Did he laugh the same way I used to? Did he even know I existed? When the envelope finally arrived, it looked almost ridiculous. Plain white, thin, light. I held it in my hands for nearly an hour before opening it. For some reason, I expected it to feel heavier. Maybe because it held the future. Or at least the version of the future I had secretly built in my head. Finally, I tore it open. The paper inside unfolded with a quiet whisper. My eyes scanned the page. The words blurred for a moment. Then they snapped into focus. Probability of paternity. 99.9%. I sat down on the kitchen floor. Just slowly lowered myself like my legs stopped working. He was mine. The boy from the sandbox. The baby from the yellow stroller. My son. I thought I would cry, or laugh, or scream, but none of that happened. Instead, I just sat there, holding the paper, trying to understand how my life had quietly changed forever. How long had she known? How long had she walked beside me carrying my child without telling me? How long had she lived in that house with me hiding the truth? My hands shook as I reached for my phone. I called her. No answer. I called again. Nothing. So I grabbed my keys. 30 minutes later, I stood outside her apartment door. Victor opened it. The first thing that struck me was his face. Not smug. Not defensive. Just tired. Like someone who had been expecting this moment for a long time. She is not here, he said calmly. Then you and I are going to talk, I replied. He did not move from the doorway. Just leaned against the frame and crossed his arms. I know, he said. I blinked. You know what? That he is yours. The silence that followed felt explosive. Like the moment before a storm breaks. You knew, I repeated slowly. Always, he said. Scarlett told me before he was even born. She said there was a chance he was not mine. But I did not care. My chest tightened. You did not care. No. He shrugged. I told her I would raise him anyway. If he ended up looking like you, I would deal with it. You were irrelevant. Something inside me snapped then. Not violently, just permanently, like a door closing forever. Irrelevant. I stepped forward, my fist trembling. You mean me? His biological father. Victor's expression hardened. You think biology makes you a father. Where were you when he had a fever at 3 in the morning? Where were you when he could not sleep unless someone sang to him? You think you can just appear now and rewrite the last 2 years. You stole him, I said through clenched teeth. Scarlett gave him to me. Those words froze the air. I struggled to breathe. He had not taken my child by accident. He knew. And she knew. You could have told me, I whispered. Both of you could have. We did not owe you anything, he said coldly. She left. You were not part of the picture anymore. But I should have been. Victor looked directly into my eyes. Then maybe you should have fought harder before she walked out. I turned and left. I barely remember reaching my car. Barely remember driving home. My mind replayed the same thought again and again. They built a life on top of a lie, and locked me outside of it. But now the truth existed, and the truth had weight. I was not just the ex-husband anymore. I was a father. The question was, what kind of father would I become? For weeks I did nothing. The DNA results sat on my kitchen table like something radioactive. Every time I thought about going to court, my mind dragged me back to the same terrifying question. What if he does not want me? My son was growing up believing another man was his dad. And maybe that was the only reality he understood. But 3 weeks after that meeting, I made a decision. Maybe not the brave one, but the only one I could live with. I wrote Scarlett a letter. A real one. Handwritten. No threats. No legal words. Just honesty. I told her I was not coming to destroy her life. I only wanted one thing. To meet him once. One conversation. One moment. One chance. 2 days later a reply arrived. One simple line. Saturday 11 in the morning. Marina Park. Come alone. The morning I drove there, my hands would not stop shaking. Families filled the grass. Children ran between playground equipment. Parents held coffee cups and pretended life was simple. Then I saw them. Scarlett sat beneath a tree, her knees pulled close to her chest. Beside her on the grass sat a small boy holding a red toy truck. My son. He did not look up when I approached. Scarlett did. She nodded slightly. No smile. No wave. I crouched nearby. Not too close. My heart beating like a drum. Hi, I said softly. The boy finally looked up. Bright blue eyes. My eyes. Who is that? He asked. Scarlett hesitated. That is an old friend. Friend of yours? He asked. Then he studied me carefully. You do not look like a friend. You look like a stranger. The word hit deep. Stranger. That was exactly what I was. A stranger to my own child. I forced a weak smile. Yeah, I guess I do. Do you like trucks? He asked, holding up his toy. I used to, I said. Not as cool as that one. He examined me for a few silent seconds, then went back to playing. We sat there nearly 20 minutes. Three people connected by something fragile and complicated. At one point he looked up and said, "Your shoelace looks funny." That was the closest we came to a real conversation. Eventually Scarlett stood. "Time to go," she said. I nodded. Did not argue. Before they left I crouched beside him one last time. "Maybe I will see you again, buddy." He did not respond. But as they walked away, just before turning the corner, he looked back and called out, "By stranger." I stood there frozen. That word echoed in my chest long after they disappeared. A week passed. Then my phone buzzed. One message from Scarlett. "Cedar keeps asking when the man with the weird shoelaces is coming back." That was the beginning. We met again at the same park. I brought him a red fire truck toy. He loved it. Not me. The truck. But that was enough. The second meeting lasted an hour. The third almost 2. Soon he started calling me Fire Truck Guy. I held on to that nickname like it was something sacred, because it meant I was no longer a stranger. I was something in his world. Something small, but real. Weeks passed. Slowly. Carefully. Then one afternoon we sat together in a bookstore reading a picture book about sea turtles. He leaned quietly against my arm. Without even looking up, he said something simple. "You feel like a dad." My throat closed. My vision blurred. "Are you crying?" he asked. "No," I coughed. "I am allergic to turtle books." He laughed and kept turning the pages. "We are still figuring things out. There is no guidebook for this kind of life." But now, when he sees me walking toward him, he does not say stranger. He runs straight at me with his arms wide open, shouting one word, "Daddy." And every single time I catch him, I know the fight was worth it. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Visit our channel for interesting and intriguing stories.